one of the items that we kind of slipped, the news cycle a little bit.
Probably by design.
Probably by design.
Yeah.
It's the Nord Stream pipeline. So I have some information here. For those of you who don't know, the Nord Stream pipeline is basically a natural gas pipeline where Russia provides really pretty much the bulk of the natural gas to Europe, particularly Germany, and they have these pipelines called the Nord Stream. There's two projects. There's Nord Stream 1 and Nord Stream 2. Each of those actually has two pipelines each, so there's 4 pipelines total that are running under the ocean, to deliver this gas. And anyway, there's in September of 2022, there were 3 explosions that knocked the system out. So basically, it shut down the capability for the gas to be delivered. Now the reality is Putin had already kind of closed the tap a little bit, and then he'd open it, and then he'd close it as he's trying to make points with Germany. It's like, hey, look what I can do. But at this point, there was an explosion, and so he can't turn it on now. It's just off. So it's problematic for a couple reasons. One, the gas can't be delivered to Germany. Now remember, this was in September. What usually follows, September and October, that'd be winter. So when you use natural gas to heat your house, that could be a problem. And most people in Europe use natural gas for heat or electric, and they have a lot of their electric production uses the natural gas to produce the electricity too. So it was all kinds of problems. Energy costs skyrocketed and stuff because of it. But anyway, Washington quickly stepped in and was quick to blame the Russians, basically saying, you blew up your own pipeline.
That makes a whole heck of a lot of sense.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense, I suppose. And of course, Russia quickly jumped in and said that it was the West that did it. And then Russia went so far, Putin, as actually he asked the UN for an investigation into the matter, and that investigation is still ongoing. So they haven't, really settled on anything yet. But here's where things become a little bit problematic. It's a Newsweek article, February 9th of 2023. I've lost 10 years, man. It's been a rough decade. And anyway, there was some senators, they're basically raising these concerns that if the allegations about the United States sabotaging the Russian natural gas pipeline are true, he wanted to make clear that he and his colleagues were not aware of the plan. The U.S. continues to deny that it had any involvement in the damage to Russia's Nord Stream 1 and Nord Stream 2 pipelines in September. On Wednesday of this week, so remember this has been a week or so ago, investigative journalist Seymour Hersh published a report on his Substack blog that U.S. Navy divers set bombs that massively damaged the Nord Stream, a natural gas pipeline in the Baltic Sea. And after the report was published, the White House called the accusations utterly false and complete fiction. Republican Senator Mike Lee of Utah posted on Twitter on Wednesday afternoon that if the allegations are true, he and his colleagues were not aware of the plan. He went on to say that he's troubled that he can't immediately rule out the suggestion that the U.S. blew up the Nord Stream. He checked with a bunch of his Senate colleagues, and among those that he talked to, none were ever briefed on anything.
Or at least, know nothing?
Yeah, I know nothing. They're pulling the old Schultz defense.
Sergeant Schultz.
Sergeant Schultz. And basically, if it turns out to be true, they've got a huge problem. The explosion caused massive damage to the Nord Stream pipelines. After the explosion, Sweden and Denmark investigators both determined the act to be one of sabotage. So this wasn't an accident. Something was purposely done. The U.S. agreed that the attacks were deliberate, but of course didn't take responsibility. President Joe Biden also urged Americans to not listen to what Russian President Vladimir Putin is saying about the attacks because the information wasn't true. Well, I want people to see this here. Let me pull it up.
If Russia invades, that means tanks or troops crossing the border of Ukraine again. Then there will be no longer a Nord Stream 2. We will bring an end to it. we will, I promise you, we'll be able to do that.
I want to be clear with you today. If Russia invades Ukraine, one way or another, Nord Stream 2 will not move forward. Senator Cruz, like you, I am, and I think the administration is very gratified to know that Nord Stream 2 is now, as you like to say, a hunk of metal at the bottom of the sea.
Unbelievable. So I've got something to point. Why would Putin blow up a source of mass revenue? If he is providing the natural gas, you said the majority. I don't know what that percentage is. But
I don't know the exact number, but it's the super majority. It's like 70-80% of their energy.
Okay. So, and that has, I'm sure that they're paying a premium for that, right? Mm-hmm. So why would he cut off, in the middle of a war that he's in with Ukraine, why would he cut off his money-making endeavor, Nord Stream, by blowing it up and sabotaging it, when he needs that cash flow to support the war machine? It doesn't make any sense to me.
No, it doesn't. Now, from threatening to turn it off, and occasionally he did, he turned it off a little bit here and there. But it allowed he had control of that, so he could threaten. Yeah. So if the UN and Security Council and stuff, if they started to say too much about this invasion, Ukraine, he could say, "Hey, you guys need to. I'm going to cut your gas down."
So why?
He would tend to control it, but
he wants to control that.
He wanted to control that leverage, right?
Yeah. So why would he get rid of it?
He wouldn't.
He has no leverage.
Right.
Like that.
He would not remove his own leverage or his revenue stream. To your point.
All right. So let's change gears here. What do you think if we did it? If the U.S. did it?
Yep.
To what purpose?
Well, as
other than poking at Putin, I mean, is it to get NATO countries to join into the fray? And is Biden a warmonger that is just looking to pick a fight here?
I don't really know for sure. It honestly, my honest thought, quite honestly, is it was just a bad idea. I think it was the administration's way of trying to act tough, to be the bully in the playground. But it's ill-conceived. So, I mean, it's an act of war. If it can actually be proven that the United States did it, that's an act of war. Now, the reason why... Okay, well, let me read some other things here. So, in case you were wondering, Hirsch, who is the one that came up with this investigative journalism and is coming up with this stuff, he won a Pulitzer Prize for his report revealing that U.S. troops massacred Vietnamese civilians in My Lai in 1968. So he's no stranger to digging into stuff and finding out where the government has done horrible things and then being a whistleblower. Mm-hmm. So, he's more than capable and willing to do that. The Pentagon, of course, continues to deny U.S. involvement, but Russia's demanding consequences for whoever's responsible. Russian Deputy Foreign Minister Sergei Ryabkov, I probably mispronounced that horribly, told Russian state news agency RIA Novosti that the Biden administration was at fault in an interview a couple weeks ago. They said the Kremlin had already formed the conclusion that the U.S. and possibly U.S. allies were responsible before this Hirsch article was published. And by and large, they're saying this was in the past tense, obviously, publication confirmed the conclusion that they had made for ourselves, that basically it was the U.S. that did it. Of course, there's still no proof. I hope you've enjoyed this clip from the Craig's Gun Channel Random Shots program. The program airs Thursdays at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. On Random Shots, we discuss content ranging anything from preparedness, survival, politics, firearms, basically anything that's 2A related, with sometimes some rabbit trails on things that aren't related at all. If you enjoy this type of programming, please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so that you're notified when we release new content. And if you like it, hit the like button and share us if you would as well. It helps the algorithm and helps the channel grow and helps get our message out. So I guess until next time, stay safe.